Hey everyone, want to sound smarter, like
Who
effortlessly?
doesn't, right?
This deep dive is all about adding some serious firepower to your vocabulary.
Rocking those high-impact verbs.
The ones that make you think, ooh, impressive,
Hmm.
but you're not quite sure how to, actually use them in a sentence.
Yeah, like you've got them in your back pocket, but haven't quite figured out how to whip them out naturally.
Exactly. And we're taking inspiration from this podcast on mastering advanced vocabulary.
Oh, I listened to that one. Good stuff.
They had a really interesting take on three C1 level verbs:
Yeah,
emphasize, endure, and neglect.
solid choices. Those are words you see everywhere, but mastering them, that's next level.
For sure. And they're surprisingly versatile.
Oh, yeah, you can use them in a super formal setting like a presentation or even just chatting with friends.
Okay, so first up, emphasize. Sounds pretty basic, right? It's shining a spotlight on something.
Sure, but here's the thing. It's all about the delivery. The podcast gave a great example. Imagine you're in a meeting. Someone says, it's important to finish this project on time.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff.
Exactly. Now imagine they say, I want to emphasize how crucial it is that we meet this deadline.
Ooh, okay, now we're talking.
Right. Suddenly there's weight behind their words.
It's like, listen up, folks. This is not a suggestion.
Exactly. But the beauty is it's not aggressive. It's assertive, but in a subtle way.
And you can even use it in casual conversations for a bit of humor.
Oh, totally. Like, I want to emphasize that pineapple does not belong on pizza.
See? Suddenly, even pineapple on pizza sounds like a serious debate.
It's all about that strategic word choice.
Adding those subtle nuances to make your message memorable.
Exactly.
So we've talked about emphasize, like it's that verbal highlighter. But what about when we're talking about like, grit, pushing through those tough
Oh,
times?
resilience. That's where endure comes in.
Exactly. And it's a powerful word. I mean, it implies so much.
It really does. It's not just about getting through something difficult, right? It's about coming out the other side, changed by the experience, but not broken.
It's like those stories of survival you hear, someone battling the elements or like, I don't know, facing some incredible challenge.
Absolutely. And they make it. They
Yeah.
endure. It's like that unspoken, despite everything, is just hanging in the air.
Yes. And the podcast had this example about a hike.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Like, I'm not about to climb Everest anytime soon, but even I could feel that sense of accomplishment.
Right. Just saying, we endured the hike.
Suddenly, it's not just a walk in the park. It becomes this testament to willpower.
Exactly. You're highlighting the effort, the struggle. And it doesn't have to be some big dramatic thing either,
That's so true. It works for everyday stuff, too.
like slogging through writer's block.
Oh, tell me about it. Or how about sticking to a workout routine?
Yes. Or even just, surviving a mountain of emails after a vacation.
Ugh, the worst. But see, even those everyday things, using endure, it adds a whole other level.
It does. It's like you said before, it's about those subtle shades of meaning.
Yeah.
And endure, it adds this depth. It's almost like you can hear the unspoken victory in the word itself.
And it makes you think, right? Like, what have I endured? It's like acknowledging your own strength.
It is giving yourself credit for those battles, big or small, that you've won.
So we've got emphasize to drive a point home and endure to show that inner strength. Now, what about a word that's, maybe a little too relatable for some of us?
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Neglect. Oof, that one hits a little close to home sometimes.
It does. It's funny how a single word can carry so much, well, baggage.
Right, because unlike emphasize and endure neglect, it's not exactly a positive thing.
Not at all. It suggests, well, a lapse in judgment, like you weren't paying attention or didn't care enough.
Yeah, and that can lead to some not so great consequences.
Exactly. Remember that example from the podcast? Neglecting your studies and then bam.
Bad grades. Ouch. But it's not always about like report cards and exams, right? I mean, we've all got those areas we tend to neglect in our own lives.
Oh, absolutely. That laundry pile that's been there so long, it's practically part of the decor. Yeah, that's neglect.
Totally. Or that houseplant you swore you'd water regularly, but now it's like crispy.
Definitely. Those good intentions that just kind of, fall by the wayside.
It's funny how those little things can pile up though, right?
It really is. But the thing about neglect is that it forces you to face those
I'll be
responsibilities.
sure, to yourself and to others.
Exactly. Whether it's a project at work, a relationship, even just taking care of
No,
yourself.
neglecting any of those things, it never ends well.
Nope. And sometimes it's not even about forgetting. It's about pushing something aside because you think you have more time.
Oh, the old out of sight, out of mind trick. Never works out the way you hope. But okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We started with emphasize, which is like that verbal power stance.
Right. Making your message loud and clear.
Then we moved on to endure, which is all about like inner strength, resilience.
That ability to overcome no matter what.
And finally, we landed on neglect, which is a bit of a cautionary tale, right? Reminding us that even those little oversights, they can have consequences.
Definitely. It's a good reminder to pay attention, to be present in all areas of your life.
So there you have it. 3 powerful verbs that can really elevate your communication.
Oh, absolutely. And the best part is, the more you use them, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. You'll be dropping them into conversations like a pro before you know it. So think about it. Think about a recent conversation you had. Could you have used one of these power verbs to really get your point across? Maybe you were trying to emphasize something or describing a time you really had to endure. Or maybe, just maybe, there was a little neglect involved. Whatever the story, remember, words have power. They shape how we see the world and how others see us, so choose them wisely.